So my name is Carrie Samuels. I am your intuitive counselor and happiness coach. And today we are going to be talking about intuition, one of my favorite subjects in the whole entire world, because when you know how to make decisions intuitively, your whole life changes. You feel calm and relaxed. You know everything happens for a reason. You feel totally guided, totally calm, and you know that, well, there's times that you can be anxious, but you can be calm in those moments of indecision because you know that your intuition will always guide you to the right place 100% of the time. Your intuition is always right. There's never a time when your intuition is not right. And I was thinking about this because I know some people think that sometimes their intuition guides them toward like maybe a bad decision. And, you know, there's certain times in life where we are guided to situations where we need to learn and grow. For instance, if you have a soul contract with a person that you have a karmic relationship with and you need to clear your karma with them, or you have a karmic lesson that you need to learn, you're going to be guided intuitively toward a situation or relationship that's going to help you clear that karma, balance that karma, release yourself from situations. So for those of you who are like, I don't know, my intuition sometimes gets me in wrong places, if you really think about it from a soul's perspective, your intuition is always guiding you toward the best choice 100% of the time. And these are the things that we're going to discuss today together, how your intuition can guide you 100% of the time toward the right decision. So we're going to talk about the difference between intuition and logic, and also how your imagination has a place in this, in your decision-making ability and in your intuitive abilities. So lots to cover. And the thing is, when I come up with like what I want to share with you, I connect with my intuition and my spirit guides about what I'm going to be sharing with you. So my spirit guides have made it very clear to me that we're going to cover the foundations now. And if we do too much at once, it actually scrambles your intuition. So I'm going to be with you. Like, this isn't my first time that we're doing this together. Here I am straightening my pillow. Oh, it's this pillow. This isn't my first time that I'm going to be doing this with you. I have more video, podcasts, messages, newsletters, and I'm going to be sharing with you all year and in future years. So stay with me, because I have a lot that I want to share with you to help you learn and grow. So if you're not already subscribed to my channel, to my newsletter, then I suggest you do, because I have a lot to share with you. So today we're going to be covering some foundations of how to make choices intuitively, how to really know 100% of the time whether you're making the right choice. So before I move on, first of all, since I'm using a new webcam here and we're going live, I want to make sure that if you can just let me know as I'm looking in the camera here, if it actually looks like I'm looking at you, not like looking down, because as soon as I look at the comments, looks like I'm looking down, and it would be weird for me to be talking to you if I'm like looking in another direction. So just let me know how that's, if it looks like I'm looking at you when I'm talking, because that's my intention. And the other thing is, as you're doing that, I just want to make it clear to you that in addition to be doing this this foundation, like what we're learning, the foundation, my guides wanted me to make something clear to you as well about whether or not, like how effective this is for you. So intuition is not just a skill. Intuition is a way of life. So I want you to recognize that. that when you learn how to make decisions intuitively, this is how you move through life. It's not just, oh, when you're up against one big situation or one big choice, that's all of a sudden when you start to use these techniques. You're making choices all the time throughout the day, like millions of times a day. And the more you learn to make choices intuitively, the more you will be able to make these bigger choices with more skill and more grace. So I hope that makes sense to you. And yes, people are responding to me. Yeah, looking right at you. I'm looking right at you. Thank you for letting me know. Because this is new technology. And it's funny because I'm talking about like intuition, which is a very right brain thing. And here I am dealing with technology, which is a very left brain thing. And another thing that your guides, one of the things we're talking about today, and we'll just start right now, is the difference between intuition and logic. And it's funny, this new camera I'm using is called Logitech. Logitech. So just to prove that point, so that it is combination of the two sides of the brain. So your right side of your brain is your intuitive side. It's also connected to your imagination, that part of you that's able to dream. And your left side of the brain, now it'll look opposite for you on the screen, but this is my left side. It will show up as your right side, but the left side of your brain is the logical side. And really, to make intuitive decisions, you need to use both. And that may sound strange because you may think you're only tapping into this intuitive faculty. But here's the thing. Your intuition is, so this part of your brain that's picking up on things and your subconscious, that's that part that is picking up the information that's beneath what you see. It's like picking up all these subtle pieces of information. And to really, really make an intuitive decision, it's important that you are paying attention to the information you see. And some of that information is logical. So like, for instance, if you're moving to a new place, you can have an idea that you want to move there, but it's really important that you go ahead and you do like research about it. If you're looking to change your career, it's really important that you do research about your new career. It's really important that you get as much, it's kind of like your logic and your experience of information gathering is, it's like the food for your intuition. You have to gather as much information as you can, but it's important to pay attention to subtle information. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But there's this kind of like misconception, like for instance, like I'm psychic, right? So like I should just like divine at every minute, like what like my next choice is. But again, like if I'm moving, I'm doing some research about it. I may be intuitively guided as to where that research comes from and where I'm looking and the kind of resources I go to, right? But it's important to bring both sides in when you're making a choice. And like if you look at the for instance, the High Priestess card in the tarot, she's sitting between these two pillars, like these intuition and logic, and it's really like what's right in the center there. But what happens is, I'll explain to you what happens to most people. Your logical brain is looking for the safe choice, and your logical brain is thinking strategically and what could be like, what is the most secure choice? What is the most logical, reasonable thing that's going to keep you safe? Your intuition will often lead you on the road less traveled. And I'll explain why. The personality wants to be connected to the tribe. The personality wants security, right? The human part of you, right? is more tribe oriented, more group oriented, and that's like your root chakra. So like that makes sense, right? Like if your root chakra is all about tribe and community and safety and security, then you're going to want to do things that like the tribe, culture, society is telling you what to do. And that's a very linear path. It's sometimes pretty boring, to be quite honest. So intuition is more connected with your individual soul path. So just like you have a GPS and you plug in the destiny, right? This is the destination. This is where we want to go. That's your destiny. That's like your soul has a course that it wants you to take where you are expressing your gifts with the world, where you're using your unique voice in a way that's different from other people. So you see, the personality wants the same and the soul wants unique, right? So intuition is more that part that's connected with the individual self. Intuition is more that part that is connected with that uniqueness. So this takes you on the road less traveled, right? Oftentimes. So you'll have this logical choice that's secure and what everybody tells you is the right thing. And then you have these feelings. Then you have these images. Then you have those thoughts that don't go away. So the way to make intuitive choices, you really need to be willing to stretch yourself. You really need to be willing to go the road less traveled, to do things that aren't logical, to do things that aren't always reasonable, and a calculated risk. Again, this is why I said, like, take all that logical information and bring it forth. But you need to be willing to take a chance on yourself. Okay, you need to be willing to say, there's something inside of me that wants to express itself in some way or experience something, and I know I need to do something. So the more moments that you have to be an individual, to be unique, to stand out, to think differently from the tribe, that's when you're living intuitively. This is one of the most important things I can share with you today about making the right decisions every single time, intuitively. And another thing my guides were sharing with me is that when you are in alignment, like, so when you're headed toward your destiny and listening to your intuition, your life is going to feel like it's in alignment. You have people around you that you love, you're in a place that you love, you are in a career or a livelihood that you love, and that's when you've been listening to your intuition. So the distance between living and making choices intuitively and how much in alignment you are with expressing your destiny will show you how you are living intuitively. Like, well, like, the more in alignment you are, it means that you've been making choices intuitively, not just logically. So what we're going to cover today is the basics, okay? Because if you're like so far from living like that, then you need to practice being okay with stepping out of your comfort zone. You need to practice being okay, being unique. You need to practice being okay, being, taking a chance on yourself. So the first thing we're going to do right now, and I'm going to ask you to do, and there's a lot that we're going to be discussing today that you may want to go back to because it takes a little bit of soul searching. So we're going to cover some things, and this is up to you to go back and to really go into them in a way that feels good, right? In a way that makes sense for you. So again, and I'd love to hear how you are responding to this. I'm making some major decisions. I took the plunge. That's so wonderful. Yes, I love your comments. People do need to release fears. It's it's tribal to want to do what seems like the secure choice, right? It's absolutely tribal. And you know, it doesn't make you a bad person if you've been doing that, because maybe you have responsibilities to other people and it makes it harder to make those choices. But eventually your life is going to show you where you have to make the choice to do what's really in your heart. And I can think of one example right off the top of my head. So and we're going to talk about like how your body is an intuitive vessel. So intuition, here's what happens to you. You are picking up all this information intuitively, right? So like you meet someone, you walk into a room and you pick up information. You feel things when you walk in a room or when you meet somebody or when you connect with someone in some way. You feel things and you think things. That information runs through your chakras, runs through your subconscious, runs through your mind, and then this is feedback. You get information and then you send out more information. And so what happens is when we're ignoring that, it's like that creates like a lot of conflict and a lot of friction. And eventually, the more you ignore what your intuition is telling you, the more a crisis like eventually it will culminate into a crisis so that you're forced to listen to your intuition. So again, here's this example. I guess it was about 6 years ago. I had just completed Marie Forleo's B School, and that's something I'll be telling you about in a little bit. For those of you who know, in the month of February, because I'm an affiliate partner, I share a Marie Forleo bonus, and that's something I'll share with you in a little bit. But it's one of those things. I actually joined Marie Forleo's B School. That was a leap of faith, and that like kind of defied my logic at the time because it was out of my means at the time. But I knew in my heart, one of these things, okay, so my destiny is to teach spiritual laws and intuition and all things divine. And that's where I've always wanted to go. But I was doing readings, right? So first I was doing readings for many, many years, part-time, while I kept an office job. And that created a lot of like stress in my body as well, because it was exhausting, right? So finally I took that leap of faith and I moved across country and I did this. I paid attention to a lot of intuitive signs. These are all like little stories within themselves. And one of the things that I wanted to do was, so I joined Marie Forleo's B School to have like the tools to teach full-time online. So I joined it, and what happened was I was still doing readings. Now at this point I was doing readings full-time. So it gave me the confidence to raise my rates and do all these really just connect with a lot of people, and it strengthened me in a lot of ways. But I still was afraid to teach full-time or even do any program, because at the time, what I was doing, I was always booked up 3 months in advance as for readings, which is wonderful. I mean, that's a happy problem a lot of people would like, but I didn't have any free time and I was exhausted. And in my soul and my heart, I wanted to teach. And I was teaching a little bit part-time, but I wasn't doing any of those things to make it so I could make this transition. So finally, I got really sick. I mean, like really sick. And the problem was I still had readings for 3 months booked up. So I had no time to recover. So I actually did the readings while I was sick and coughing the whole time. And this was my body's way of telling me that, you can't go on like this, right? That was my crisis. Now, your crisis can happen in other ways. So at the time, my husband, who also had some physical reactions to when he had an office job, he had quit his office job several months before. So I was all the income at the time, right? So 99% of my income at the time came from intuitive readings, but I got sick. right? And I knew that if I didn't pursue teaching, it would like radically affect my health. So at the end of those 3 months, when I was done with my calendar, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I announced it publicly on Facebook. I stopped doing readings. I did all this. I declared it publicly. And I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen, but I can't not do what my soul is telling me. And right after that, I had an opportunity to teach to over 1 million people, this company that has over 1 million people. They just came to me as soon as I finished that 3 months. Because you know why? Because finally I made a decision that was in alignment with my soul. And it's scary to do those things, right? And then since then, like, I get to do what I want every day. And I am finally teaching as my livelihood, which is what my soul wants. But like, even as a professional intuitive, it was scary for me to make that decision until I got to a crisis. So what I want you to do right now, first of all, is ask yourself, where are those areas that I'm out of alignment? Where are those areas where my heart wants me to do one thing, but I'm taking the safe choice? And again, you're going to want to go back to this, right? So this isn't something to do right now, because this is going to take some soul searching and some writing and some meditating and some intuiting, right? But you want to look at your life and really be honest with yourself about where you're in alignment and where you're not. And the areas where you're not listening to your intuition, because I guarantee you your intuition is teaching you something else. Okay, so that's the first thing I really am encouraging you to do. Just like get out some paper and like write this stuff down. Now you may want to take one choice at a time or one area of your life at a time, but it's just, you just got to do this. You have to be honest with yourself. And in those areas, like, again, take one at a time. You want to ask yourself what you really want. So when you're talking to yourself, when you're talking to your intuition, here's one of the foundations, okay? And I say this in almost every like message I share with you. You want to get out of your mind and bring your mind into your heart. So let's do that right now, okay? So let's close your eyes. If you're not driving, close your eyes. You want to be grounded. So again, your mind is, like, most of the time your rational mind. Get into your heart mind. So breathe in. And this is one of the foundations to intuitive living, is take your mind and bring it to your heart so you're connected to what you really, really want. And as you're connected to your heart, first discern what it is you want, like truly in your heart, not what you think is possible or impossible. What is your heart's desire? What do you want? How do you want to feel? What kind of experiences do you want to have in this area of your life? What kind of feeling do you want? Good. And notice if any images come to your head. So as you're feeling into this desire, what do you imagine yourself to be doing? Take a moment to let your imagination connect to this desire. How do you see and feel yourself having this experience? You can ask your guides now. So let's call in your highest level guides. Just say, I call in my highest level spirit guides and guardian angels. Feel them around you. You don't need to know what they look like or what their names are. You're calling in your highest level spirit guides to show you one next step that you need to do to manifest your heart's desire. And just, you could get a color, an image, or a feeling, doesn't matter. Just notice. Okay. Because we are together right now, we're not going to do this at great length, but I would encourage you to do that. And in the next message that we're going to be doing, I'll be sharing with you how to manifest your heart's desire, but you want to pay attention to your intuition. So as you're going through your day and you're trying to make a choice, you need to make a choice, large or small. Make sure you're going into your heart mind and asking your heart mind what it is that you really want. And then imagine, use your imagination to receive images of how you want or how you're meant to get there. Now, here's what happens. People say, like, is it my intuition or am I just imagining it? Well, your imagination is how your spirit guides communicate with you. That's why your dreams are so profound, because your conscious mind is shut off and they could communicate with you through symbols. And also the process of imagining things helps you co-create it as well. So let yourself imagine what you want. And there's sometimes you won't be able to imagine it. And that might mean you're either it's not something that's right for you, or you need more information, more insight, more desire connected to it. If you can't imagine something, it's connected to there's not enough of something there. Either it's not the right path, or you need to practice engaging your imagination and your heart with that. So there's a couple of other things I want to share with you about how to make intuitive choices and how not to make intuitive choices. And again, I'd love to hear how you are responding to this, like how this is how this is affecting you and how this resonates with you. So the other thing, to make these decisions, okay? And after you're finished listening to this, I'd love for you to take some time, like with yourself, writing down some things. So one of the things that keeps you from your making intuitive choices, other than like wanting to always make the safe choice, is your fear that you're being judgmental. So when you meet someone or go into an environment, you know how you feel about that person or situation right away. And what we often do is fear that, like, oh, I shouldn't think this, or I'm being judgmental, or this is, I shouldn't judge people, or, you know, just because of X, Y, and Z. But this is intuitive information. It's not being judgmental to notice things, even if your logical mind can't explain it. So when you're making choices, before you're, you know, I'm so used to paying attention to this, like I don't always have to write it down, but it's important to, like, so what I'm encouraging you to do for any choice that you have to make, that you want to make intuitively, is for you to write down everything you want. So that's the first step. Write down everything you desire. And then write down everything about a certain choice or a certain direction that you really like. And then write down everything that you think you notice, but you're afraid that you're being judgmental about. You really want to just get it out there and recognize it and write it down. Because how many times have you had that experience where you're like, okay, I knew that was my first impression, and it took me like 10 years. Then like all of a sudden you're like, you went back to your first impression. So I'm encouraging you to really get that into your consciousness right away. This is where your logical mind connects with your intuitive mind. You want to be honest and like out in the open with the things that you notice, that you're thinking, that you're either imagining or being judgmental about. But those are intuitive insights. So I'm encouraging you to pay attention to that. And then the next thing to do is to write down how to get, like any steps that you can take to get from where you are to where you want to be, okay? Your heart's desires, right? And then write down what you're afraid of. And the fears could be valid fears, right? But oftentimes they are fears of taking a risk or taking a chance on yourself. So if it's those things, if it's a fear of taking a chance on yourself or fear of taking a risk, connect to your heart and ask your guides to show you what you need to do next to help you move through your fears and what steps you can take. You can take baby steps to help you get more toward what you're being guided to do. So this is stuff to do on your own time. I have created something that helps you ask your body for intuitive answers. And that's something that I use every day, this technique where I connect with my body to receive intuitive answers every day. I'm going to put the link here for you. That is something that I do all the time because I use my body as an intuitive vehicle. So I highly suggest that you download that recording and practice it every day. And there's a lot of people that don't know, like they'll do it and they'll be like, I'm not getting anything. My body just doesn't have a yes or no kind of thing. I encourage you to practice it because you really want to be in tune with your body. So since I already recorded that, I'm not going to go through that with you here because, again, I don't want to scramble your intuition as well. You have a lot of information to process now, and that's one way to learn how to make intuitive decisions. So that's called Intuition Answers, Ask Your Body. I'm going to put the link there below. And also, I had mentioned Marie Forleo's B-School. That was something I did that was a big leap of faith for me. My intuition guided me toward it. It turned out to be one of the absolute best decisions I ever made in my entire life. And because this is February right now and Marie Forleo is promoting her B-School, and if you're watching this after February, then there'll be something else for you. But if you are interested in growing a business of some sort, if you have a heart-centered business, I encourage you to take a look at that because I'm also offering mentoring as part of my B-School bonus. So I'll put that link below as well. And if that's not your thing or it's after February when you're watching this, that's okay too. But if it is something that you're intuitively guided toward, I highly suggest that you check that out as well. I'd absolutely love to hear your comments about how this resonated with you, all your experiences doing this, and also if you want to come back to this after you do those exercises we talk about, I'd love to hear that as well. So that's it for now. I have so much more to share with you in the near and distant future, so stay with me, and I love you so much, and thank you for sharing this time with me. I love you.